So good evening, everyone. Thank you again for joining the SDA Home Education Association Monthly Forum. We have had a bit of a break over the summer, but by God's grace, we are back and looking to obviously provide more events and forums, things that are topical and relevant to your home education journey. So my name is Joseph Kujo. I currently serve as chair of the association. There are a number of other committee members that will join throughout the course of the evening and are available, if you need any support, not just this evening, but just throughout your journey. So please do reach out to us. Our email address is on the screen and our website is also on the screen. We do send out regular emails. My contact number is on this. I'm always available to be contacted and reached out on. So again, thank you again for joining. We're just going to say a word of prayer and we're going to introduce Brother Charles and the topic for this evening, and then we can get started. So if we just bow our heads for prayer and we'll just pray together. Heavenly Father, we've come into your presence one more time. We believe you are here because we claim that promise that says that where 2 or 3 are gathered, you are in the midst of them. And so thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you that we can meet in this way, in this forum. We pray that we commit the meeting into your hands. We commit the forum into your hands. We commit each and every parent, every child, every boy, every girl into your hands. We commit Brother Charles into your hands as he presents and gives us information and insights into how we can better protect ourselves on the internet, online, and in media and the devices that we use. Father, we want to be wise as serpents, as your word says, and harmless as doves. We want to be able to be good stewards of the things that you have given us. And sometimes these things can be a double-edged sword. They can be a danger to us, but if used properly, they can be used for your service and for your glory. So Lord, we pray that you'll teach us, that you will allow us to learn and to be able to apply these lessons that we learn into our individual journeys and in our families. We thank you again, and we ask these mercies in Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so this evening we're happy to invite and have Brother Charles back again. He is, I believe, a self-confessed computer geek, and it's pretty much knows quite a bit. I would imagine a lot more than most of us as parents know in terms of computers, media, internet, etc., etc. And so we've invited him back just to give us a bit more insight of how we can be safe online. He did request that, if you have a device, have it to hand at some point. He'll inform us and show us what we need to do. Before we get started, just a couple of very quick announcements. So a lot of you we would have seen at Family Camp, which was obviously late this year because of the whole current situation, but we met in September. And it was good to see many of you there. Brother Charles, I think we met in person for the first time there at Family Camp. It was good to see you and your family there. And many of you we met also for the first time there. Generally, what normally happens under normal circumstances is around about November, we tend to have what's called Fruits of Family Camp, which is basically almost like a day of fellowship, time to get back together, rekindle friendships that were made at Family Camp. We have been actively searching for a venue, but at the moment we've not been successful. So at the current moment, what we are saying is that Fruits of Family Camp is postponed until we can find a suitable venue. The venue that we normally use, which is in Birmingham, the church is not fully open, and so they were not able to accommodate us as they normally have done over the past few years. So please do keep that in your prayers, that we'll be able to come together and meet again and be able to fellowship again in person as we did at Family Camp. So just bear that in mind. We will send out some communication by WhatsApp and also by email just to confirm what we've just said, but just keep that in mind. But also keep it in your prayers that we will find somewhere suitable, because it is quite challenging at the moment. A lot of our churches are not open. And the other venues are either unsuitable or also quite restrictive in our ability to use them. So keep that in your prayer. Just to remind you also, the first Tuesday of every month, which is fast coming up, so the 2nd of November, normally the first Tuesday of every month is our time of prayer and fasting. we're living in a time where we are told that we need to pray and fast. We need to study and have devotion as we've never had before. We're living in challenging times. We're living in a dark period of Earth's history, but it's also a fascinating period because we know that Christ's coming is even at the door, and we need to prepare ourselves, our families, individually, collectively, to be able to meet our Lord and Savior when He comes. So we want to invite you the first Tuesday of every month. November is going to be on Tuesday coming, the 2nd of November. We normally have 3 meeting times at 6 p.m., 12:30, and also at 6 p.m. in the evening. So it's 6 a.m., 12:30 p.m., and 6 p.m. And normally we have quite a good number of people. We pray for each other. We intercede on behalf of each other. We empathize with each other, and we learn about different topics and different things, whether it's about country living, whether it's about growing our own food, whether it's about how to increase our faith, whatever the topic may be. We want to encourage you to join, and also join with your children where possible. So please do join us this week, Tuesday, and the details will be sent out. If you're on our mailing list, you would have received an email with the Zoom and joining details, but I will send them out again just as a reminder. So we look forward to you joining us on Tuesday at 6 a.m. for our first time of prayer. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Brother Charles. I believe we're on time. So Brother Charles is going to have some time just showing us, and there'll be a time for Q&A at the end. However, if you do have questions, please do pop them in the chat, and we will come back to the questions. If it's something which is burning or you need a specific answer to while Brother Charles is speaking, then please do raise your hand using the feature on your controls. So normally if you go to your control panel, there is an option to raise your hand, and then we can acknowledge you. So Brother Charles, we'll hand over to you to take us through this month's session.
Good evening, everyone. I'm hoping everyone is okay. Brother Joseph, I'm just going to ask you if there are any questions for you, maybe just to interrupt me if that's okay, because like I've said, I might get carried away. So I want to try and answer as many questions. There will be a little bit of a question and answer at the end. But if, for example, there's something that you're not very sure of, like I said, by all means, please raise your hand and I will try and address it when I can. I might not see your hand up, so that's why I'm just asking, even just to put if Brother Joseph can just even interrupt me a little bit and just tell me that there's a question.
As questions come through, I'll
now, before we start, I'm hoping all of you have got this. And you've got this. If you've not got this and this, I suggest you get this and this. You are going to need it. So would someone like a bit of time to go and get a paper and a pen?
Yeah, I think let's do that. I'll put it in the chat as well. Let's just people a minute also just to get some paper and a pen.
Oh, perfect. So parents, it's so good that I've been given an opportunity to again speak to you all. As I've said in the past, when it comes to safety, as parents, we've got a very, very big task ahead of us, because one of the main things that you are going to realize, especially when it comes to the world of technology, technology has developed a lot quicker than in our time. I'm sure somebody's nodding their head right now, agreeing that it's been going at such a fast pace that, for example, some of us didn't grow with computers at the click of our fingers. If you wanted to find some information out, there was no Google, for example. You couldn't Google it. If, for example, you're looking for a Bible verse, you had to find somebody who knew exactly where to find it and who said it, or you actually had to spend more time, in other words, to get that information. Now, in this day and age, information is at the click of our fingers. You can get basically any information you can. And so with that said, we addressed the last time quite a lot of features that come with regards to what's available to help make parents' lives easier when it comes to, I always call the internet a jungle because that's what literally it is. You can find anything on the internet. In fact, you can even order just about anything. People have been ordering firearms, they've been ordering dangerous material over a very long period of time. So the internet is just as dangerous as you can imagine. So don't think because, for example, your child is under the safety of your roof, they are safe as long as they've got something that can access the internet. So when we talk about technology, we obviously have to address things like, for example, phones, mobile devices. And this is exactly where we are going to start. So majority of the time that we're going to spend today, parents, is we are going to be asking ourselves some difficult questions. And one of those questions is with regards to safety. Now, I'm going to ask you, if you've got a pen and paper, I want you to think of the devices in your home that your child can access, right? So for example, if they've got a phone or they have access to a computer, please write those in two separate sections. So for example, if you've got a paper and they've got access to a phone, you're going to write which phone over here, and then you're going to write down going down. And then if they've got a laptop, you're going to write that down as well. And then you're going to put that information down. As you write that down, I also want you to think of something else. If, for example, you've got a family computer, let's say, for example, you've got a device in your home that you and your child both use. Now, this is where I'm hoping that you're listening carefully. If, for example, your child has access to your phone or your computer, do they know your password? Is your password something that they can guess? This is very important because we cannot set parental controls if our child knows our password. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Or if they can guess our password, because children can be sneaky. So you may think they don't know the password, but if you put it enough times and they can see you enough times, how I've learned this is because, sometimes we've got phones and there's a certain pattern that you put to unlock your phone. If you put your pattern so many times, it's only a matter of time until your child knows what your pattern is to unlock your phone. Now, why specifically I'm mentioning this is because we're going to be looking specifically at the most used devices that children access. Now, maybe by a show of hands, can I have a suggestion of how many, just so we can have an idea, how many of your children have access to YouTube, for example? So maybe you can put your hands up on the, okay, I'm seeing one, Sister Arlene, Brother Joseph. Okay, quite a few parents I'm seeing already, their children have got access to YouTube. Okay. So that always up to some naughty business when they go on the internet, or they are always inclined to do something wrong. The truth of the matter, when you least expect it, a child could be looking at a YouTube video about, for example, how comes up telling him about weight loss pills for children, or something that pops up. And I'm sure you all have seen YouTube, and what you need to understand is you're not always there when the inappropriate content is things. It could maybe give them an access to a link where they can click to find out more information. And so this is now where we need to be careful, teach you how to make sure that there is a filter set on your YouTube so that your children can only access content that is appropriate, one, for their ages, and two, for them to be able to browse safely without any other malicious content coming on. We can stop this. We're also going to stop another, and click a video. At the end of the video, what you don't realize is if autoplay is on, a computer will do a random check to see what other video it thinks will interest the child. So in other words, it could lead them from what they're watching, maybe it could be how trees grow. It could then take them to something else, which is not what as parents you've agreed to. If a child leaves their computer on and is playing YouTube videos, have you ever noticed it keeps playing and playing and playing? Have you ever noticed that there is no pause on the YouTube? As soon as one video finishes, it goes on to the next one. And then after the next one, it goes to the next one. This is a sign that you have not set the filters correctly, because you need to stop that. The other thing that we're going to be learning, which is very important, again, because we need to set up, it could be a blanket email, or it could be a family email, but this is important because what parents were thinking is that email addresses are only are not for children, may not be appropriate. But what these parental controls are going to allow us is to set up a child account, which will know not only their age, but also be able to filter any content so that it only the child can access what's appropriate for them, or what you have chosen as the parent for them to access. Now, like I've said, because this is all learning, I'm going to ask any parents with any parents familiar with how we can set up the filtering content on YouTube, and also are any parents familiar with how we can also do the same thing on Google search? Because if we're looking at YouTube, the owner of YouTube, I'm going to see if anybody knows who owns YouTube. Does anybody know? I'll leave that to your homework. I'll ask you at the end of to see how many people know. We're also going to make sure that we set up those same controls for our search browsers. Because on our search browser, for example, if it's Google, or I always say Google because it's the one that's the most popular, you can also filter the content, but you have to be logged in for you to be able to filter the content so that any inappropriate or unverified content, your computer, the children will not be able to access that. Because sometimes children are led astray by curiosity. They want to learn how something works, and by a simple search or Google search or a mistyped word, for example, and they are lost. And therefore, we want to try and limit that so that by the end of today's lesson, at least, you will be more familiar with how you can better control what your children are watching, and also what they can access from on their computers. So we're going to pause there, and I'm going to see if there are any questions so far with what I have said. Right.
Yes, a question, if you don't mind.
Okay, go on.
Is it possible to set up the controls you've mentioned on YouTube without having, you know, that sometimes YouTube asks you to set up like a paid subscription, the premium account? Is it only on the premium account that you can do that, or can you do that on the free account as well?
You can do it on the free account as well. And one browser that my son has shown me, which filters or blocks out adverts, is the website. It's called Brave. So I would recommend you also have a look at that if you don't really like the advertisements popping up as regularly as they do. Try watching the YouTube videos on those. But we will come back to that one. The most important part that I want us to first of all understand is, how do we keep our computer, how do we filter the content that's coming onto the children's computer? Because the first one that we can use is, sorry, my daughter's got a toy and she's just walking about. The first one, I'm sure you are all familiar with YouTube Kids. Does anyone have YouTube Kids on their device? Okay, I'm seeing one. Okay. YouTube device is very good as the first one in how to filter content, because it's what it does is it only gives you the very limited content, but that content that is limited, it's also filtered. So it's another way in which you can try and address what we're going to be talking about. But if you have your devices with you right now, I'm sure some of you are using, if you've got a tablet or you've got a phone, this is all the same. It's exactly the same. If you look on your browsers, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all, it's just a brief video, but the video, what it does is it's going to show you, 1 second. Sorry, yeah. So the video, what I'm going to do is it's going to show you what exactly you need to look out for when you are setting up the controls. But before we do that, parents, if your child uses the same device as you, please make sure they do not know your password, because any content that we put here, we don't want your children to be able to remove it whilst you're not aware. Because one of the things that we also need to understand, which is extremely important, is that our children pick up things so quickly. I mean, if I could give you an example, my son is 11. He has seen me, you know, like, because some of the stuff that I do has to do with coding. Coding is just a way of saying programming. So programming is with like a set of instructions where you can tell, for example, one device to do a certain action when someone has clicked. And because of his curiosity of programming, he's taught himself, because like we said, we are not very big on our children playing, you know, video games and so forth. So as a challenge, I told my son, listen, instead of being the one that pays to play these games, why don't you make your own? He's 11. And a few days later, we're talking a few days later, he designed a game. So this is just like writing, because programming, remember, is a set of instructions where you tell, you write a certain code that tells an object to move, for example, from point A to point B, and maybe more instructions along the line. He's made up a racing game, a car racing game, where he's designed it like on a track where where we can actually race on it. So he's actually made the game himself. And although there's still a few kinks in the sense that once you get off the road, your car can't get back on the road. The point is, he's taught himself to do something in a few days that it would have taken me years at university just to study. So with their determination, our kids are very, very bright and they are able to do these things. So do not be surprised if your children already know more than they let you know then don't be surprised if they know more than you actually think that they know. And that is specifically with regards to technology. So I really recommend, if you've got a password, try and see if either you can change it, but because I don't want you to change it something where you end up forgetting it, but try and make it something that your child can't easily guess. And you cannot, especially if you're sharing a device, don't make your child an administrator of an account. They have to have a child's account, because if they've got administrative privileges, we're going to be discussing that as well, you will not be able to filter any content they can access, because the computer will recognize them just like another adult. So the first thing on your left is, if you're writing what devices your child can access, I want you to ask yourself, does my child know the password? The next question you need to ask yourself is, how much time do they spend on the device? And do you know on what program they spend so much time on that device? So far, are we understanding? So password, do they know the password? Do they have a child's account if they're using it? Also, and this is where you have to be very honest with yourself. If you are buying your children any device at all, please make sure you understand how the device works. I'll be more than happy to speak to you about it, but don't let your child tell you what's the best device for them. As parents, you need to go and actually find out. Like I said, there's where I'm hoping that in the forum we'll be able to discuss these things, because nowadays they don't even need a brand new laptop. I was even surprised the other day I saw parents with a child was given a MacBook that's worth over £1,000. Parents, they don't need that. They do not need £1,000 device, because like I've said, if they drop it, that could be money. And as children, you expect that they will not value the thing as it should. And therefore, if we are going to be giving them, I will be more than happy to share with you links where you can get some of this stuff, even secondhand, as long as it is a very good and secure, because the priority in all of this should be security. What I mean by security is it should have features on the device that allow you to be the parent and the child to be the child. In other words, they don't need to have fingerprint and iris scanner on them. It can be a basic password where you can tell the device to link with your phone, so that whatever they can access on the computer, you also be able to see it on your phone. And all those features, like for example, if they're on YouTube, you'll be able to see what they've accessed on YouTube. We will be discussing that, like I've said, because we are going to have various lessons until, sometimes my friend just says it's dumbing it down. It's like we're going to go step by step, so that every single step of the way, we know what our child is using. If they're talking or accessing websites, which websites are they accessing, who they are in contact with, and how do those websites disseminate information? In other words, what information are they requiring from me for them to give me a service? Because like I said, data protection is essential. And so with that said, we're now going to start the first part of the video, which is just to show you. And again, I will share you a link afterwards. The website was specifically created to help parents understand what parental safety is all about. What it's going to tell you, I need to show you the video, because the problem we have right now is that if I was to explain it to you, you are all using different devices. So not on every single device is it the same, but just about it's more or less similar. Let's just put it at that. So what I'll try and do now is I'm going to put a link on here. The video is only 3 minutes long. So I'm going to share with you a link. Now, this link specifically tells you where to find, because it's on the right-hand corner, where it tells you how to, one, filter content that is being accessed on your device, and two, it also has a feature which stops autoplay, because autoplay randomizes any videos that you can access on your computers. So this is very, very important. You're going to learn how to disable that feature, and secondly, how to set up the controls on there that help you as a parent to keep tabs on websites accessed. Has everybody seen the link that I have pasted?
The link is there.
Right. So this link, like I said, parents, it's, in the interest of time, it's got a very, very simplified structure of where the parental controls are. And I want you all to do a certain exercise on your phones or on your devices. How many people are using laptops at the moment? If you are, just raise your hand. Or if you're using a phone, raise your hand. So let's start with laptops. Is anyone using a laptop? Ah, great. Okay. So majority, so we're going to start with that. So now, if you're looking at your devices, so if you want, you can just leave me on the side for a little bit and just listen. I want you to open a new, I want you to open the browser that you use on your device. Now, on your devices, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share my screen, but I wanted you guys also to be able to see. So I'm just going to share my screen. Yeah, so I'm going to click this one, and if you can see my screen, I'm hoping that, yeah, that will disappear. You're going to see that I'm on a YouTube page. Now, whilst I'm on YouTube, I'm going to show you where there are 3 dots. I'm just going to circle them there. Can you see there is sign in? So signing in is important because if you want your children to be secure in what they can access, I highly recommend that there is an email address specifically for when they can access this, because what this will help is it will help you monitor where their history of all the websites that they've accessed. So it keeps a catalog of which pages they've gone onto. It even gives you the time, how long they've been on there. And secondly, whilst we're there, because you can see where the sign in is. I'm hoping you can see from my mouse where it says sign in. And then on the right here, you're going to see where it says restricted mode off. Can you see? Now you are going to want to turn that to on. Can you see? Now, how many of you knew that if you read what the restricted mode says, it says this helps potentially mature videos. No filter is 100% accurate, but what it does is it stops mature videos from being accessed on your YouTube device. How many parents, again, I'm a big fan of show of hands, how many parents knew that on YouTube there is a part that actually tells you where to filter adult content from your computer? So they could be watching a Bible, what's it called? I remember there was a time when we were visiting a church and they were trying to show a YouTube video, and all of a sudden an advert came online, and you could tell that they were not really prepared for it, because you know what, it's random. But with this mode on, this section here, this can help to minimize that without going towards the premium payment. So again, parents, by a show of hand, I can see some hands are still up. So I could ask maybe for those hands to come down so that we can then answer how many parents knew about this section here, where you can actually put a restricted mode on that filters mature videos from being accessed on your computer. How many parents were familiar with this, with that aspect? So from what we're seeing right now, this is an issue already, because if not enough parents are aware of this, it's a problem. Parents, this is a big problem. You cannot have a computer where it's allowing your children to access mature content. This has to be on. So when you turn this on, you will notice that my page has changed. What I'm trying to say, parents, is this: we have to be very careful in that we are trusting the children to know what to do when they come across this stuff. but I always am a big believer that prevention is always better than the cure. So if we can prevent our children in the first place from being able to access this, we are one step further. So the video I've sent you, because like I've said, we are using different devices, it means that it will try and simplify it a little bit more so that you'll be able to understand how to effectively set up parental controls. I have decided to address YouTube first and foremost because I think 99% of the parents here have agreed that their children have access to YouTube. And like I've said, YouTube, you may not see it in any way, but it's got some very good videos, but it's also got some very damaging ones, especially the adverts that come across from there. I've seen a lot of them that have been inappropriate, that have come up without even the children being aware of it. And we need to be very, very much aware of how they can access this. The second one is the same thing. It's with Google search. When you go on Google search, I'm just going to open another page. But have you also far understood that aspect? Sorry, before I move on, because I don't want to go too fast where maybe you are not following where we're going with this. Have you so far understood where we are?
Yes, very clear, very clear.
Okay. Like I said, parents, if you're not sure about anything or I'm going too fast, I would love for you to get in touch with me and let me know, and I will address that as soon as I can. Google search as well. Unfortunately, like I said, I've not yet signed in here onto this computer, but Google has got the exact same parameters because, like I said, by law, they're supposed to give you features that allow you to minimize what your children can access. So if they can't, it becomes a problem. So let's have a look at Google. How many of your children have access to an email or have got an email address? Okay, quite a few. I can see that quite a few. Now, those email addresses that they've access to, how many of those are you able to access on your device? How many of those give you, for example, a detailed report of your children's habits? Because you can do that. And again, just so that I don't go back to where we were last time, but Android, Mac, and my son, do you have your Android laptop, please? Can you just bring it for me?
I have no screen time.
Yeah, I know you don't have screen time. I'll give you some screen time. You see, my son is already telling me he doesn't have screen time because our devices are set up so that we can control the time that they can access, when they can access, and what they can view. So what I want to do now is I'm just minimizing because I didn't want to go back, but I'm hoping okay, let me see what I'm sharing. I want to see if I can share my desktop. Yeah, screen. Yeah, share. So this is my desktop. I'm hoping you can all see my desktop. So on my desktop, I'm just going to show you, if I go here, this is on a Windows device. You can see all the devices that are, so it shows you that Kiani signed in. So if I was to go here on parental controls, it will tell me exactly who's on what device and what they are doing on that device. If you missed my last lesson, I will be more than happy to sit down with you. We can go back to that and then we can address specifically how you can do that because it's very dependent on devices. The browsers that my kids use is Brave. Why specifically? I'm just going to open Brave. Hopefully you'll be able to see. So Brave is good in one thing. When it comes to advertisements, it does not show you, it does not give you YouTube adverts. And so this is one way in which you can prevent your child from being able to access content that way, if that makes any sense. So we have But whilst you're accessing it again, I just wanted to show them what it looks like. Right. Yeah. So if we click, for example, how trees grow, you're going to notice that on here as well, you still, if you're not signed in, they won't show you adverts. But if you were to put this on, the restricted mode on, and then you create an account for them, for specifically for all your children to be able to access, and you follow the link I've just given you, it will help you to understand how to better protect your children from being able to access content which would otherwise not be appropriate. So I've just gotten a question. Can you get reports on Hotmail email addresses for children? Absolutely. It's nowadays Hotmail is part of Outlook. So what you do is you go on there and you say set up parental controls. Even if you Google, log into your Hotmail account and then open a browser next to it, next to the page. So open a new tab. On the new tab, just say set up parental controls on Microsoft. You're going to get like a green heart shape device on your search. If you click that, because your computer will know you're already signed in, you can then add your children's email addresses, their ages, and from there it will now tell you a detailed, it'll give a detailed report of what they access. It even tells you any device that they've access to. From now on, you can set times that they can access and what apps they can open themselves. So that is the benefit of that technology. So if anything, what my lesson I'm hoping for today, because this is the most important, especially when we're talking about security. Parents, you know, children take advantage of the fact that we are, I would actually say we are technology illiterate a little bit. We give our child a device without knowing what they're able to access. Now, this is my son's computer. What I was going to show you, he's using Android, because I was just trying out Android. So Android device, if you look on here, but on the device, sorry, on the device, it actually says unlock device. No, you can't see it, with parent code. You cannot access this computer if your parents don't give you an access code. So if I show you my phone now, I will have gotten a notification because what I was going to show you is that on all your devices, I'm more than happy to sit with all the parents that are homeschooling to go through with you how you can set up the parental controls. It will now show me, look, if you look on my phone, I already got a link. Now, these are the kids that use my devices. So that's my son, Kiani, and that's my daughter. So straight away, I know all their habits on and what they can access. So because he's asking me for screen time and his time is already up for the day, I can then go on my phone, and if I click his name, it would it's saying that, look how much time. No, it won't be able to show.
It won't.
No, it's okay. It says 0 minutes. So because it's saying 0 minutes, it tells me what time the device was locked. Again, it says the device was locked at 12:30 today, and it's his bedtime. So if I want to give him more time on the device he's using, I would, and this is very simple, parents. I don't want you to think this is complicated. It all involves an email address, your email address, and creating an email address for them that is registered as a child. And from there, you can lock their device wherever they are. You can even track where they are. And so this is more or less what we are trying to establish, because I addressed this in the last class. What I wanted us to move on to was the devices that they use the most. And at the moment, from what you have all established, majority of all your children are using, yes, the process somebody's asking me, is the process shown in the YouTube link? Yes, it is. For the YouTube, sorry, for how to set up parental controls in YouTube. So on here, I'm so sorry, it's like,
Yeah, it expires in some minutes.
So I've been given an access code that I have to my son has to put on his computer, or I can put for him to go on this. So I've given him 10 minutes on the computer, and then it will log him out. If I want him to have less, I can just say log out. So this is sort of like the control you can have on any device. It can be their phones, it can be their tablets. We don't have to be so concerned with regards to what our children are watching if we can also see and filter what they have access to. So with that said, I want you all to just maybe reflect for a minute and think about, one, improving your passwords. Also looking at the devices your children are using. They do not really need expensive devices, because one of the things that we need to understand is that we need to let our children be children, and we can try and get them to be very careful. But if a child leaves a pen on their keyboard and they close the screen, your screen is broken. Yes, Brother Samuel's asked me for a link of the process that I've explained. I will be more than happy to do that as well. So with regards to where we are so far, are we clear in the processes so far? Because what we're just addressing today is the most important in my view, which is content. Being able to filter what's going through the eyes of our children, what they can see and what they can hear. Is anyone that's not clear on how to do that?
A question, brother, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you're happy to meet with homeschooling families. How does this happen? Is this a one-to-one, and is it a chargeable service? And how does it work? How long would it take?
To be honest with you, for me, the helping set up the parental controls and stuff, that is something that I will be happy to do free of charge, because it is a free service that you can do yourself. So it's something that I would be happy to. With regards to the one-on-one, like I've said, if you can get in touch with me after, we can chat on WhatsApp, and I can explain to you how you can do that. Or if you need more help, sometimes what we have noticed is with some of the parents, they've been honest enough to admit when they sometimes feel overwhelmed with setting up parental controls. What we have done is I've got what's called remote access. This is a feature that I got from work, which I usually also have discovered it works for everyone, because during the pandemic, some of our clients, we were not allowed to go and meet them one-to-one. So what we did was we just took control of their computers. How we did that is there's an app that I can, a link that I can send you, and it will help me, it will mirror your screen so that we are able to see the same thing. And then I can help you remotely to set up the parental controls that way. Or if you want me, for example, to look at your antivirus software, if it's up to date, or there's a problem you have on your computer, I'll be more than happy to do that. I think the service costs something like £25 for the remote access for about an hour and a half. Usually in about 30 minutes, we would be able to set up the parental controls if we did. So that's if you needed it. If not, like I've said, via WhatsApp or we can just discuss it on a FaceTime or whatever device you feel comfortable with, and I'll be happy to show you how to do that. So I don't really charge for that, if that makes any sense. It's something I'll be happy to. If you have a problem along the way and it's more specific, and we need to use the software where it gives me remote access, then maybe that's what we would look at. I hope I've answered that question as well. Okay, I've got up, this one's a private message, but they said I could share it. With regards to the computers, like I've said, parents, feel free as well to get in touch with me. A lot of our clients where I work, every year they recycle their computers. What I mean by recycle is they're given new computers to use. And so what happens usually is they're happy for as long as we recycle the data. How we recycle the data is for data protection. We have to destroy the hard drives and the RAM, all the identifying features, and you can get some decent laptops. And what I mean by decent laptops, without having to fork out a lot of money. Why specifically I'm saying that is because it's not always ideal to share a laptop with a child, because especially if you do things like internet banking, if you do which most parents do, they do internet banking on their devices. If that is something that you are doing, you need to stop, because what's happening nowadays is some of the games that your children access, the games are free. I've seen a lot of parents have got free Roblox. If you look on your child's device, there's something called Roblox. And you need to ask yourself, why is it free? Most children don't read terms and conditions. They don't understand what terms and conditions. And on the terms and conditions of some of the software of the free games they play, it actually says, by accepting to play this game for free, you are accepting a third party to be able to access your browsing rights, your web history, your favorite points. That's why when you go on your search, for example, you search holiday in the Caribbean on Monday. On a Friday, you go into your computer and you type, for example, Sabbath school reading. And one of the results you see there is free, cheap Caribbean holidays. And you're wondering, how come I'm getting such specific adverts about Caribbean holidays, even when I'm not searching for them? Or how come the computer knows which country I'm from, even if I've not really put anything else on the day about that? So all that is part and parcel of why you need to be very careful with regards to the rights that you give, and also the rights that your children give. Because what you don't understand nowadays, internet fraud is not all about stealing money from your bank. They can steal your identity without you knowing it. You need to check, are you getting lots of pop-ups on your computer? Are there any things that you find suspicious? Are you getting very weird emails? Maybe you're being told that your PayPal account has been compromised, or your bank has given you a refund that you're not aware of. How do they know what your email is? You know, they talk about phishing and all of this, but a lot of this content comes from the fact that you have clicked something that you're not even aware, or that's on your computer without you knowing it. This is why it's always advisable. Let your child have something that they can independently use without it compromising my device, without it compromising your family safety. It's the same thing with your internet providers. If you haven't done so already, parents, please phone your internet provider and ask them, what content do you keep? Do you keep my history of my browsing habits? For example, if you're checking, you don't want vaccines, is all your history kept? For how long? Are there filters? And this is key now, especially with people with like companies like TalkTalk. Ask them, are there filters on my browser that block what I can access and what I can't access, and know what my browsing habits are? All this is it helps you with regards to internet safety. Don't just think that when you are browsing, your data is not kept. Find out where it's kept, because at the end of the day, you want your family to be safe and secure. And how you do that is by making sure you know everything that is going in and out, especially when it comes to the World Wide Web as well. Are there any questions so far? Because I think it's 8 o'clock. We can pause there, and then I can find out if you've got any pertaining questions to what we've addressed so far.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation, brother. It's very good. I want to know, I was trying to set up, because I've got an email set up for my son, but I was trying to set up a login on Chrome for him. But then they're asking for a phone number, which I put in, but it doesn't give me access for some reason. It doesn't allow, says you cannot use that number for some random reason. Even though I've set up an email address for him before, but that's Hotmail email.
Right. So he's got you said that you've got a Chromebook. You've got a Chromebook device. Is that correct?
No, I've got HP, but I'm on Chrome website. I mean, internet web browser.
Oh, right. So the HP, so in other words, you use Windows, is that correct?
Yes, Windows.
If it's a phone number, you need to ask yourself, have you registered the number with another device as well?
Yes, I have.
So what could probably be the case is you need to check what the phone number is associated with. If it's associated with your account,
Yeah.
you might not be setting up the parental controls for the child correctly, because the number is like it's a safety device to make sure that it's not a child that's setting up the
account. Okay.
You understand? So the
Yes,
number
yes.
is registered to an adult, so that if there's anything that's wrong, you will be getting messages that give you a total detailed access of what they've been doing, their history, and if, for example, they forget their password, the parent will have been the one that changes it as well.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Makes sense.
Okay, I've got a question. Can you tell me, is DuckDuckGo still safe? Because I have been seeing ads on the high street. I don't think they are protecting anyone. What do you think? I use DuckDuckGo on certain search criteria, but honestly speaking, I will stick, when it comes to children, with Google. Why I'm saying Google, because they've got a safety record now. You know, they're being held. What I mean by safety record is they're being held accountable for what the children can access, and because of that, they are now trying to make sure that it's secure. And so with DuckDuckGo, it's very good for your privacy, in the sense that if you are searching certain criteria, Google is paid. I'm sure you're all aware of it. For example, if you say nearest supermarket to my house, and you put that on your search, you might see the first four are Tesco, Asda, or the big ones, even if they're not close. And that's because they're paid for ads. And DuckDuckGo, usually it doesn't work that way. It tries to work from the location. So there are benefits of using DuckDuckGo. But in this case, because you can also set it up to be moderate and safe searching as well. So it's got those features. But personally, I think when it comes to the to search criteria, try and use the ones that have got more accountability, if that makes any sense. Okay. Any other questions? And
okay, all right. Now there's a question that came through on a WhatsApp. Came to me. It says that this person was watching the first part of this presentation that you did, and the question was, they were wondering how to be more watchful in a way that a child does not get mad at you as a parent because they feel you don't trust them.
I think as parents, we need to ascertain to our children that this is not a question of trust. It's a question of safety. And with all due respect to children, we are the parents. And like I've said, you would not let your child do something that you were not even sure yourself if it's safe to do. And I think that is what this is more about. It's not a question of trust, it's safety, because a lot of the times the children don't even know. This is just from experience. I before the pandemic, I used to host the computer classes for at our church, for the local soup kitchen on Tuesdays. A lot of the parents that brought their computers, they were brought to their knees, not because of what they were accessing on their computers, but because of what the children had inadvertently accessed, and it had ended up causing them some serious. Some of them, it didn't even involve the police, because the child clicked something that it was not even aware of what it did, and it raised alarm in so many ways. Others have also been talking about not even being aware that their children were being bullied, because they've got no idea, what is my child accessing? What is he seeing? If a child is watching a video and an advert comes up saying, listen, are you not comfortable with your body or how you feel? There's now a tablet that you can take, which can help you with regards to that. It's a very, very fine line, parents. And I think that we need to err on the side of caution, That's what I'm trying to say. And besides, these parental controls still give the children access to it still gives them access to the internet, but it just filters heavily what they can access. That's what the difference is. I hope I answered that question.
Yes, very much so. So it's from what you said, is an issue of safety as opposed to an issue of trust.
Yeah.
And I guess a parent needs to sit down with the child and be able to explain that to them. So yeah, thank you for that. I see Shelly Ann Hedron, you've got your hand up. I'm not sure if that was from before or if you have a current question now. Shelly Ann?
This.
Okay, it may be that she had her hand up from before when you asked people to raise their hand. There was a question about repeating something about Brave. What is it about Brave? You said there's a child-friendly browser for YouTube. Is that right?
Brave, what it does is it does not really allow YouTube adverts and trackers. You know, like two things I was going to tell you. You know, sometimes you may watch a video. I would like you guys even just watch a video that you love, maybe of a song that maybe you listen to, and then look at the comments below. Some of the comments, they are so destructive, you know, because anyone can put a comment. Some people have put words like, why don't you kill yourself, or insulting words. And this is a lovely video. It's got nothing to do with that. Oh, this is a terrible message that you're putting across. So how do I put it? We have to be careful in what we can in finding the balance with regards to some of these browsers that we use. If you put us login, use the active, you don't have to pay for a premium account, and it turns off all the time. People can write comments and share what they think of the video. All that is taken out for the children to access, so they won't be able to read what the public thinks of those videos and so forth. So that is more or less why I'm just saying, try these for yourself and then see what benefits you can get from them. Any more questions?
Okay, are there any other questions? Does anyone have any specific questions for Brother Charles? You can see that he's very knowledgeable and is also willing to share his knowledge and expertise. So
Yeah,
are there any other questions?
Or even something I've not addressed or you'd like me to address, I will be more than happy to do that. But this for me was the most important, because 99% of the parents, they do allow their children access to these devices. And most of you, if you have noticed, didn't even know that there is a content to stop mature content from being, there's a link which access mature content and to remove it.
I have a question about browsers. Is there a particular browser that's safer than others? So you've got obviously Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Google Chrome, etc., etc. Is there one which is more susceptible to, you know, tracking and all this kind of stuff? Is there one which is safer than another?
You know what? I have spent so many hours using the different browsers just to try them out, and they've all got advantages and disadvantages. Let me be honest. I use Chrome more because of the fact that you can sign into the browser, and once you've signed in, like my child's, you can sign in to that one as well. You can do the same as well now with Microsoft Edge, the newest one. This is where, again, I think some of the parents on here are going to be disadvantaged, because if your computer is not running the latest software, you are not as safe and secure as the ones that are running the latest software. And this maybe is another discussion for the future, but please make sure that because what the difference with running the most current software is all the patches, you know, because there's something called security patches. Security patches are, if a hacker finds out, okay, on Chrome or on Microsoft Edge, there's a weakness in that if you send this code, it will reduce the security of it. If you're running an older system, it will not know that this issue was patched, and someone will still be able to access your computer remotely. And that is something that you won't even know. 95% of the time, you may not even be aware that someone has got access to some of these things, simply because they've gotten so good at remaining in the background and remaining quiet.
All right, thank you for that. There's a few more questions in the chat which I'm going to read out, and then I can see Diana Chong has got her hand up, so she can ask a question. Let me just read the ones out in the chat first. So first one is, do you have anything good to control mobile phones social media? Okay.
Is someone speaking?
Would you like me to repeat the question?
I heard the question. I thought I heard somebody make a comment. So this one is pretty straightforward. Parents, if you're not here for our last session, your children's devices, like phones, if you are going to register their phones, first of all, this is key. If it's an Android device, make sure that you set up a Google account for yourself, and then set up a child's Google account. Again, this is simple. Log into Gmail on a browser or Google, and then open it, and then say parental controls for Android, or set up an account for a child using Gmail. Why specifically I'm saying this is because as the link that comes up there, it will tell you how to set it up. As long as you set up that email and it's the one that your child signs into the device, it can be 1 second. Let me see if I can. So what that does is, as long as your child is signed in as a child on your phone, you can turn off social media. You've got total control of what they can access on the phone. You can even block who can phone them. Or if you only want them to be able to receive calls from you, you can set that up. If you don't want them to be able to unlock their phone or answer calls at certain times, all of that is at your fingertips. It's just the knowledge of how. And the how simple is set up an account for the child, because when you're setting up the account, it asks you, how old is your child? So if you put my child is 11 years old, the phone will already know, okay, the owner of this is 11 years old. So if they can only access content for 11-year-olds, and they're not allowed to answer calls from anyone else, maybe except for mom and dad and a select few on the list. That's what it will do. So don't think that there's no feature that stops that. There is control for everything now, because people are aware of just how dangerous the internet is. So
okay, thank you for that. So somebody was asking that they couldn't, where you were showing us how to turn on restricted mode, they couldn't turn it on their phone. Does it show up differently on the phone? I would imagine it does, right? Can you still do it on a phone, or do you need to be on a desktop?
On the phone, it's slightly different because it needs you to be registered as well. What I mean by registered, if you can log in an email, your email onto the browser that you use, because on the phone, why it's more specific is because of the issue of what's it called, of who's using the device. So if, for example, your child is going to be using the phone, you have to differentiate between when they're going to be using it and when you're going to be using it. Because if you're going to be putting restricted mode on the phone, that you can actually log into the Google Gmail account itself and turn restricted mode, and it will do that for majority of your devices that you use, as long as you log in. Does that make sense? So when you log in to any device and you put restricted mode, all those other devices that you use will have that restricted mode.
Okay, thank you. Last question in the chat, and then we'll go to Diana Chong. So how do you block adult material from popping up on children's devices? I think you've kind of touched that, but perhaps just, give us a quick summary again.
3 things that you have to be wary of. First of all, if, for example, you as a parent have set up you have not set up parental controls when you freshly installed the operating system, I highly recommend please get in touch with me, because what usually happens is if you've already got pop-ups or you've got software embedded in your computer that's already been installed before you've even put the antivirus, it's almost like the computer is already infected and you're just trying to blanket over and block other content. It's very difficult to do that. What you need to first of all do is to make sure that one, it's not spamware or adware that's on your computer that's causing you to have adult material popping up. Secondly, please address this as soon as possible, because like I've said, the more it's ignored, that means the more your child is able to access. And if it's already in the system itself, you need to sort of like do a deep clean the software to do that. I don't want to go too much into that because it depends on what the situation is that's causing it. If it's programs that were installed that are doing that, they need to come off first before you put parental controls, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so let's go to Diana. Diana, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question? And then after that, we'll go to Peter G.
Can I start? Yeah, thanks, Charles, for all the information there you're providing for us as parents in order to safeguard our families. The next question I have for you is, I would like you to address, can you do all these controls from the router to control, information? And also what I wanted to do is, can I set times on the router when the internet is going to be on, when internet is going to be off?
Hi, brother. Please don't unmute because I got some questions for you.
All right.
Is the fact that you want to put it on the router because it is struggling to stop them from being able to access on their computers?
Yes, at particular times.
At particular times.
And to set the time limits for how long they can be after school. Yeah.
I'm going to answer. I'm hoping some parents here, because this is interactive now. Do any parents know the answer to that question? Or I'm going to ask, oh, sorry, go on, because this is interactive. It's a good question, and I'm hoping some parents can answer. My wife is right here. I'm hoping she can answer that as well. So let's hear what some.
So can the question be asked again, please? Didn't hear properly.
I can summarize it. What he's asking is that he's asking if, for example, you can set time limits on the router, because what the issue is, because the issue is not really the router, is that the kids he wants to be able to monitor what the kids can access at certain times. In other words, set good school time, set time limits in which the children can access their devices, when they can access, and perhaps how. We can even put a how in there. If I asked correctly, so he's asking if it can be done at the router before it even goes further. And I'm sure,
as far as I'm aware,
yes,
you can do it on the router.
Yeah, you see, like when you go to internet cafes, yeah, they have time limits where they've set up. If you take a token, you're given either 1 hour or 2 hours, however time you buy. So can you do that on your router? Because I've tried before, but it never worked for me. Can you do that?
My question now, I'm going to ask my wife, because she's right here. I'm putting it on the spot. My dear wife, is it necessary to put time limits on the router or on the device itself? So,
hi everyone. It just depends
Hi.
what's happening and what the age of the child is. Because I know there was one friend of ours who had a 17-year-old who would take his phone up into bed, spend all night on the phone. So all they would do is turn it off they'd put time limits at the router. So because the parents were also trying to set a good example for that child. So there was just a blanket rule that after a certain hour, like 9 p.m., everyone off devices, including parents. And so they set it so that it was from the router. So it just depends why you're actually doing it. But I think yes, there is a way to do that. And but then I think at the moment, I don't know how old most kids are of the parents here who were trying to put this software for, but I imagine they're all under 15 kind of thing. So you want them to, I think the best thing is you kind of want to teach them how to self-regulate with their own devices. So I think it would be better to have it set on their devices, because there are also some parents who are working who may need the routers to be functioning at later hours than the kids' bedtime. So if you're going to put that blanket thing, maybe you're also excluding yourself from that ability to use the internet or have access to the internet. Anyways, that's what I think.
So thank you so much for that answer. Basically, all of you are right in that you can set up the parental controls on the router. The easiest way is you can call your provider. I'm not a big fan of that idea because there are far more effective ways of doing that. Why I'm not a big fan of content filters is because of an experience that I had with somebody who was trying to he was trying to find out information about vaccines, and he was more or less just trying to come up with a record of why they're not safe. And what happened was he ended up being asked a question, like a random question, when he was speaking to the service provider about what he had against vaccines. And the question was, how do they know? How do they know about vaccine? What he's researching on vaccines? What I'm just trying to say is this: if personally, what I would do is I've called my provider and said, listen, I don't want any filters on my router. You can actually tell them you don't want any adult content available, and they'll be able to cut that. And then what I've done is on all the devices, what you need to do is set up the device itself that they access. So if they are 4 computers in your house, make sure that each child has got their own login, and then have a look at the last video we did, and then set up parental controls. What parental controls do is it will now be able to tell you what screen time your children can have. So if you want them to be able to access computers during school hours, that's the time that they will be able to. So even if the computer is on the table and it's available, they try and log in, it will not allow them to log in because their time, according to the parental controls you have set, will not allow them. It will actually tell them your time is up, contact mom and dad. There's even a button that says ask mom and dad for you to have more time. I like that button because I've seen my son send me messages asking for more time. And as a parent, you can say yes or you can say no. And you can even explain why. You don't even have to be on the device itself. You don't even have to be at home. You can be at work. As long as you've got a mobile device, it links with that app, with all the devices in your home. That's a far more effective way of being able to control the healthy screen time habits. It also applies to phones as well. So don't think it's only computers. It's phone, Android, or any of those devices that have got access to the internet. That's the best way to do it, because with the router and the filter, what it ends up sometimes doing is it also ends up filtering you as well from what you can access. That's what I was just trying to say, because for them, there is a lot of gray areas with regards to what the filter does, and it will stop you from being able to access other things.
Thanks a lot, Brother Charles.
Okay, thank you for that, Peter. Diana, you still got your hand up. Do you have a question? Otherwise, we're gonna.
Yes, I do.
You do. Okay.
Yes, I do. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I was speaking earlier, but something was wrong with my mic. So my question is, I don't have controls currently on my YouTube on all the devices that my children have access to. And my teenager, 14 years old, has her own email address. So what can I now do in terms of putting in the parental control? And I'm not sure if the email address that she has was set up as a child. She's not sure either if it was set up as a child's email.
Okay, I've heard this quite a lot of times. And your question is a very valuable question. With children, if you want to see what the age is, just go on settings and it will tell you account info, and it will tell you exactly all the details you need to know, the person's name and date of birth. Now, what children do nowadays to avoid parental controls, they will lie about their age. So when it asks you what's the date of birth, they can put 02, 07, 2000, and that's it. So as long as that email is active, it will assume that the child is not 14, they're 20. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that, because if a child's got a private email, and again, we've spoken about things like bullying and stuff that they can access, it means that there is a secret world that they're embedded in that you might not know about. Because like I've said, most things nowadays, you just need an email to register. As long as you got an email, you can just register. I'm sure you've seen loads of things where it says to sign up, put an email. Because why these companies always ask you register with your email, it's because they know that on your email, it's already got information about your date of birth, about your information. And so if a child claims that they're 20, they can register for anything. So it's very important that the children don't put an age that they actually are not, because it gives them a certain rights which they might not necessarily have. So it's just an issue of accountability. As a parent, I can completely understand what you're saying, in that it may look overwhelming in that they've got various devices and those parameters are not there. But my view, and this is where it's very important, as a mom, what content are you comfortable with your child being able to see? Because if there's no filter, and as a mom, sometimes you cannot always be there when they're on the internet. Are you comfortable with them seeing stuff that you are not sure is available? And so if once you have that in mind, then take time. Like I said, I'm more than happy to go through this, parents, with you all, just to explain to you how to go about setting those up. But if they've already got devices, we've now got another problem. Because my view is that set up parental controls with a computer that has got no adware, it's got no spam. Because if your computer is already infected, for example, it's got games on there, which you don't even know what the parental rating of the games is, because parental controls also help filter violent games. You know, some children play things like Fortnite or Call of Duty, Black Ops. These games are like 18. That game is like 18 and over. And it's 18 and over for a reason. If you've got that account, it even stops you from being able to access those games. It will tell you you are below the threshold to be able to access it. So it's for your benefit for them to be able to have like a fixed device or a fixed email that knows all this information, so that as soon as they put in that information, it knows whose child they are, where they belong, where they live, and this is not information that's disseminated everywhere. It's just set up for you to be able to access and know where they are, what they're accessing, and is it appropriate for their content. You can't put parental controls if your computer is already infected. Unfortunately, we have to start from zero if that's the case, because you need to make sure that there's nothing on your computer that compromises family safety. And happy, again, like I've said, to talk you through how you can do that. But as a mom, I'm just advising you, please make sure that all their devices have the right safety features. Otherwise, like I've said, they're just out there without, it's like a jungle. They're just out there and you don't know what content they're accessing.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't see any other hand, and I don't see any other questions in the chat. So on behalf of on behalf of the association and everyone here present, I just want to say thank you again, Brother Charles. You have so much knowledge, understanding of this area. And I love the way that you're so willing to help parents to be safe. One thing, if it's possible, would you be able to put your details in the chat? Maybe an email address or something, if people want to reach out to you, then they can do that. Okay, somebody's asking about
replay.
We have recorded this, so we will post it up on the association web YouTube channel, and I will send out the links as well, just so you can be able to access them, because sometimes you do need to go back and replay the information to be able to do what is necessary for us to do. Okay.
Yes. And so thank you so much for welcoming me. If there's any other topics that you would like to present in the future, I would be more than happy to, because like I've said, this is a very, very wide area. And like I said, I'm just trying to touch the ones where I can see where there are a lot of gray areas. And therefore, if you would like me to present on any other, I would be more than happy as well to do that.
Okay, thank you again. And we will reach out to the membership and just again ask them for feedback in terms of specific areas. When we do come back to you, it will be based on a consensus of what parents want to know about. So thank you again for being so generous with your time, and thank you for your family. I know they're there with you in the background as well. Okay, so we're going to close off. Brother Samuel, if you don't mind just closing us out with prayer, if that's okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much, Brother Charles. It was such a blessing. This is proper, relevant stuff that we need to know. Like you said, sometimes we are very IT illiterate. That's just the reality. I remember my dad, he got his first computer some years ago, laptop, and he went literally to study some small course in some college. And he was there on the computer and he got the mouse. He was trying to move the mouse the way he wanted it, and it wouldn't go there. So literally my dad picked up the mouse and put it on the screen and he started moving it. Once he told me that, I said, Dad, just quit the course, forget about it. Stay with your pen and paper. But he's a much older man. So for us growing up now and our children, they're so quick on this stuff. They learn it so quickly, quicker than we do. So no, this is very, very good information. Let us just pray. Let us pray. Father, Lord, we come before you. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for Brother Charles and his family, for the time that they have been able to give unto us, to be able to equip us on very important information, to be able to help our children, even to help ourselves. I pray, oh God, that you may bless him, may bless his family, oh God, the wisdom that you've given him, the skill set that you've provided in his life. I pray, thank you, because he's made it accessible to us. Bless him in all that he is and all that he does, and bless each family on this Zoom, oh God, as we go forward to try to make a better environment in our homes. We know the environment outside is wicked and there's everything that's trying to draw our children away from you, but at least where we control, at least what we can influence, help us by your grace to influence it for good. I pray even as we go to our beds or continue our night, I pray that you just may lead us and you may be with us and keep us, oh God, until next time. In Jesus' mighty name we prayed. Amen.
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 Amen.